All right, turn 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Spransbury Township Board of Supervisors Annual Reorganization Meeting. Our first item will be pledge to the flag. Please join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, at this point, I would like to open up the floor to public comment. Got anything to say, John?
No, sir.
There's one attendee.
It's cheap.
That's the chief. He's not a public. All right, we'll move on to election of officers.
Like to open things up by nominating Mark Swamley as chair of the board.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Appreciate your support, gentlemen. Vice Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I move to nominate George Dvorak as Vice Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Assistant Secretary Treasurer.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to nominate Supervisor Worcester as Assistant Secretary Treasurer.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Appointment of board delegates. So, appointment of delegates and voting delegates to the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors Annual Convention. Currently, all board members are delegates and the voting delegate is Charles Worcester.
I would love to continue to do that
You would.
role.
Fair motion.
I'll move to appoint the current delegates, the board members, as well as Charles Worcester to the Pennsylvania State Association Township Supervisors Annual Convention.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2023-01, appointment of township solicitor. Currently MPL Law Firm LLP, Charles Roush Esquire.
Move to approve resolution 2023-01, naming MPL Law Firm and Charles Rouse Esquire.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2023-02, appointment of Personnel Labor Council. Currently Campbell Durant PC with Patrick J. Harvey Esquire.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of resolution 2023-02, appointment of personnel labor attorney, law firm and attorney.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2023-03, appointment of civil engineer, First Capital Engineering and John Luciani PE.
Move for the adoption of resolution 2023-03, naming First Capital Engineering, John Luciani as engineer.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 2023-04, appointment of environmental engineer, Blueguard Horn with Diana Young PE.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of resolution number 2023-04, appointment of environmental engineer Lucas Horn and Diana Young PE.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2023-05, appointment of township secretary, Dory Bowders.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the adoption of resolution 2023-05, appointing Doreen K. Bowders as the township secretary.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2023-06, appointment of township treasurer, Teresa Home.
Move to adopt resolution 2023-06, naming Teresa Hummel as the treasurer.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Appointment of the very, very strenuous position of vacancy board chair, currently Jeff Lobach Esquire.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of resolution 2023-07, appointment of vacancy board chair, Jeff Lobar.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Appointment of non-uniformed employee pension fund chief administrative officer, Mark Hutchins.
For the adoption of resolution 2023-08, naming Mark Hodgkinson as the pension fund chief administrative officer.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2023-09, appointment of police pension fund chief administrative officer, Mark Hutchins.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of resolution 2023-09, the appointment of police pension administrative officer Mark Hodgkins.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2023-10, appointment of sewage enforcement officer and alternate. Current SEO is South Penn Code Consultants LLC, alternate John Luciani PE and First Capital Engineering.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of resolution 2023-10, appointment of sewage enforcement officer and alternate South Penn Code Associates or Consultants LLC, and current alternate John Luciani, First Capital Engineering.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2023-11, appointment of representative and alternate to the York Adams Tax Bureau. Current representative Teresa Hummel, alternate Sandy Radcliffe.
Move for the adoption of resolution 2023-11, naming Teresa Hummel as our representative, Sandra Radcliffe as the alternate.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution number 2023-12, appointment of representative to Springersbury Township Volunteer Fire Company, Robert Cox.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of resolution 2023-12, the appointment of Supervisor Cox to the Springersbury Volunteer Fire Company.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution number 2023-13, appointment of representative and alternate to serve on York Area United Fire and Rescue Commission, 2-year term. Representative George Dvorak and alternate Don Bishop.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of resolution 2023-13, appointment of representative and alternate to serve on the York Area United Fire and Rescue Commission. Current representative George Dvorak and current alternate Don Bishop.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2023-14. Appointment of representative to serve on the local government advisory committee.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I've kind of stepped away from that position and asked Tim Holmes to attend, as 95% of what they deal with are zoning issues. He's been going to the meetings for, I think, about the last 3 or 4 months. I think he would be a better representative for the township than I would. But if you want me to do it, I'm happy to.
Is Mr. Holmes receptive to being the representative?
He has been.
Does it need to be appointed from a member of the board?
I don't believe so, because most of the people
Yeah.
Most of the people are zoning.
Okay.
I think there's one.
I'm fine with that.
I would just suggest that if we make him the representative, then he does officially represent us.
Sure.
rather than
Sure.
Just attend.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of resolution number 2023-14, appointment of a representative to serve on the local government advisory committee, Timothy Holmes.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution number 2023-15, appointment of member to serve on planning commission, 4-year term, Paula Musselman.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of resolution 2023-15, the appointment of Paula Musselman to the York or Spring Township Plan.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2023-16, appointment of members to serve on zoning hearing board, 5-year term. Dale Achenbach and Chris Shuttlesworth.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the adoption of resolution 2023-16, appointment of members to the zoning hearing board, Dale Achenbach and Chris Shuttlesworth.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution number 2023-17, appointment of members to serve on Historic Preservation Committee. Annual appointment, current members Lois Miller, Lee Davis, Stephen Smith, Kevin Eck, Robert Fry, David Peltzel, and Carol Tanzola.
Move for the adoption of resolution 2023-17, reappointing the current members as listed on the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 2023-18, designation of zoning officer and deputy zoning officer. Current zoning officer Timothy Holmes. Current deputy John Luciani, PE of First Capital Engineering.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the adoption of resolution number 2023-18, designation of zoning officer and deputy zoning officer, Timothy Holmes and John Luciano.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution number 2023-19, appointment of building official and deputy building official. Current building official Ray Markey Jr., current deputy firm of First Capital Engineering.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of resolution 2023-19, appointment of building official and deputy building official. Current or the building official being Ray Markey and the deputy firm of First Capital Engineering.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution number 2023-20, establishment of treasury bond in amount of $3 million.
Move the adoption of resolution 2023-20, establishing the treasurer bond, $3 million.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution number 2023-21, approval of bank account signatories as listed.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman, it is no longer York Traditions Bank, it is Traditions. Want to amend that resolution, right?
Is our money still safe there then?
Absolutely. Yes, we have the benefit of the FDIC.
Oh, we have a great benefit. You can't answer him because you have to recuse yourself from that response.
Commenting as a member of the public.
So approval of bank signatories as amended.
Mr. Chairman, I move for the adoption of resolution 2023-22 as presented.
As presented.
2021
Approval of bank
signatories.
accounts.
I'm sorry, I was looking ahead. Oh. Okay,
You still move?
sure.
23-21?
Yeah,
Okay. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Resolution number 2023-22, designation of depositories. We're on the wrong one too. You don't have to abstain from the signatories. That's for
Oh,
us.
that's for us.
So do you want to amend your vote?
Yes, I do want to amend my vote. I voted for the signatories.
So to approve the signatories.
I approve the signature.
Okay, now we're on depositories.
And I abstain.
I'm not really feeling very safe about our money, Don.
I'm gonna go on mute now.
I'm looking for a motion on 2023-22, designation of depositories. For everybody's information, that's where we put the money, not who signs for the money.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for adoption of resolution 2023-22 designation of depositories.
Second,
As amended
As
with Traditions Bank. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution number 2023-23, setting the 2023 salary for the township manager. And I assume that it's also the re-upping the contract for the manager.
I think you have to do
Okay,
it. You just have to set it. If you want
you're
to
the boss.
get rid of this contract, you both would have to do.
Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of resolution 2023-23, setting the salary for the township manager for 2023. To hereby ratify and confirm salary increase for Mr. Hodgkinson of 3%.
second,
We have a motion and multiple seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a question. So you did not need to abstain, Mr. Worcester, from the designation of depositories?
Oh, I did need to abstain.
Depositories, yes. Signatories, no. Signatories is who
I
from the
jumped.
township gets to
Okay,
sign.
I just want to make sure I have that.
Yes, I abstained from the vote on 2023-22.
Got it.
Thank you for asking.
Resolution number 2023-24. Approving the revised York Area United Fire and Rescue budget for year 2023. Discussion.
I fully support this action and this resolution to approve this revised job for budget. Thank the chief for his patience in working through this. I think we're in a very good spot to move forward and still achieve the goals and objectives that we had set out strategically in this budget.
I'll just add, just for the benefit of this board, that at their last meeting, Mr. Austin Hunt, while we were discussing this budget issue, and that the Springersbury Township consider whether Yalford is the correct fit for them or not.
I personally don't see any reason for us to act on this tonight. I understand that we put it on our budget so that we could discuss it. I'm still very confused about benefit plans and a bunch of things, and I've attended like 3 meetings in a row and still haven't really understood. And it doesn't really matter so much that I don't understand, but I'm not sure that that commission understands either what they're doing in terms of some of the pension plans.
So I think that one of the reasons why we're in this position is that as we discussed it at the commission meeting, there was Springersbury's perspective, at least as I tried to articulate, was that it seems like, you know, we do the budget and then we create the subcommittees of how we're going to figure things out first. That's not the way Springersbury would like it to be. And so I think we have a mechanism here in 2023 to really address the question relative to the cash balance plans, extending them to the command staff, extending them to any and other parties, because there is a material benefit to the organization from an administrative perspective to do that. There is the mechanism to do that, but we're not deciding that decision tonight with this budget. So that mechanism, being that personnel committee, will be able to resolve this issue, or at least bring something to the commission to bake into the budget, either on the fly based on their work here within the 2023, because we're not talking large dollars, or as part of the 2024 budget. So I do fully support this resolution 2023-24 and move for the adoption of the budget as presented here this evening for your offer, namely because there are some critical fuel expense items in there that in the event we do see the fuel increases and the like, that we'd be able to provide them the funding to do so.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
I'll second.
So further discussion.
I'm not sure I understand how fuel issues have anything to do with it.
Part of the increase in the budget for 2023 was, of course, increased fuel costs and energy costs baked into those particular line items. I can't do the math right now, and if we revert back to 2022 budget line items, how much that could compare to the fire service. Given what's happened here in fuel costs recently, I would think it is not as much of a hardship, but I don't want to give that to them. That's why I support this part of the adoption of the overall budget.
So what happens if we do not approve the budget at this?
We revert
tonight?
We revert back to 2022 numbers.
And so we're saying that we can't approve the budget at some point in the future? We can't revisit this and have discussions? My understanding is we can talk about this and approve it at any point we want. My understanding is we probably run at least 11 months of the year without running out of money. Probably almost the entire year without doing anything to the budget right now. Is that correct?
Well, it depends on George, I'll have to defer to you. If we cap in a line item in the old budget, can we overspend on the line item?
I've always had the impression when it comes to budgets, particularly municipal budgets, that you're not held to single items, you're held to the budget total.
Okay, so then, yes. So, as a matter of background, one of the things that both George and I wanted to get, and that the chief actually offered at the November meeting, was a proposed budget that would not include the funding for the new firefighters to be approved and funded by the new SAFER grants. And there was some turnout here and so forth. Nor did we want to have the funding for the pension arrangements as proposed, as we extended the cash balance plan to command staff and to administrative staff. Those items have been removed based on my understanding in this revised budget. Springs Ferry is essentially getting what we, George and I, wanted at the November commission meeting. And so we are back here with a budget that actually achieves what we were trying to achieve back then.
And while I can see that there are still individuals who are concerned about Yalford, and probably rightfully so in terms of the whole governance issue, I don't think at this point using the revised budget, I think to me that's acceptable. We can address the other issues in 2023 separately. I think it's going to create some more goodwill challenges if we reject this revised budget at this point.
With George and Charles being our representatives and both being in support, I'm willing to be in support of the budget as well.
What's your feeling about likelihood that the personnel committee is going to achieve anything close to what we're hoping it does?
When it comes to the governance structure of Yalford, I have a low degree of confidence. It could surprise me, but at this point, I've not seen the right people put in charge of bigger decisions made. Particularly the consulting study that was done for staffing was done over the objection, and the negative vote from Charles voted against that because the firm they selected, you knew what the outcome was going to be the minute they were selected. And the reasons behind it, sure enough, it came in exactly as we thought it was going to. Which points to a national standard that no one uses as the justification for more hiring at Yalford. So again, personnel committee, it would all depend on who's appointed to that, who's on it, who serves, how biased or unbiased they are, what resources we take advantage of, all of which has not yet been determined.
Now, I will add to this, we have had a historical example recently whereby George and I and Lester Rhodes from the Springs Ferry Township Fire Legacy Firefighters worked out an arrangement where we did a subcommittee of the offer to look at the investment policy for that pension, and that was very successful. And
Sure.
it all depends, Mr. Chairman, on who is going to be on that committee and the success of that committee. So,
So what we're suggesting now is to give this a chance,
yes.
and next year we revisit this issue again, and we still have the power of the budget if we're not making any headway with governance.
We have the power of the budget. We also have governance as an ongoing issue at any point in time, separate and apart from this budget.
Well, has the commission done anything at all about the governance issue, or even recognized it at all beyond putting it as a line item on their agenda?
Don, you were at the last meeting just the same as I was, at least intending from remotely. I would say that it's resonated with the rate, or it's resonated with the commission. But I'm not so sure if the commission knows where to go from, or if they have any incentives.
I'd agree with that completely.
We have not gotten any perspective exactly from.
What are the next steps for us to move forward to kind of take a look at what the governance structure should be? I mean, I know we gave some input.
Where that was left was that we were going to share, I think Don was going to share with the commission board members the work that he had done with these ideas that were on there, for them to at least provide some insight, feedback, thought, whatever, and that at some point someone yet to be named would go to the Spring Garden and Manchester Township board meetings and formally present the ideas to the entire board, as opposed to just the representative that sits on the commission, the fire commission, for additional feedback and thought. That's where it was left. Correct, Charles?
It's pretty much as I remember that discussion, yes. It is not, the next steps are not exactly clear, but that seems to be the notion that was left on the table.
So what's our best option for laying out what those steps are and the cadence for getting them completed so that we can have some security and feeling that that personnel commission will have the information and input that they need, and that we can actually do something to affect the governance structure of Yalford as we head through this year? Because if we don't set out a plan for how we do that, put a cadence in place to hit milestones, we're never going to achieve it.
Well, in my mind, the personnel is separate and distinct from the governance issue.
But they're both issues that we're dealing with.
But so I guess this is kind of what I'm saying from that perspective. To answer your question, we know the budget's coming out of August. I mean, it's usually like, so the personnel committee needs to be formed and do their due diligence on assessing how to address, which I think there is some real opportunity here with regard to these cash balance plans, as long as we fully understand them. But they need to do their work and resolve that so that it could be incorporated. The sooner the personnel committee is effective and achieves its job, the sooner it can be incorporated even into a 23 budget. I think the commission understands that opportunity.
Okay.
All right, so back to the governance issue. If the commission appoints a personnel committee that is ineffectual, then nothing happens. We're back into a new budget season. In the meanwhile, we have this governance discussion. I think governance involves more parties. It involves the various boards that compose the 3 municipalities involved in the offer. I think in my mind, there needs to be some sort of convention, or at least some sort of intermunicipal dialogue with chairmen or full boards, managers, and 2 delegates other than the commissioner members. I mean, there's all kinds of different mechanisms there, but that ought to be happening independent of personnel committee. And again, sooner. And that, I think you have to have that big overall intermunicipal dialogue first in order to understand where the rest of the path goes.
So back to my same concern. If we don't understand what the next steps are and what the cadence is for completing them, we're not gonna get it done. And I'm assuming that falls on us to educate the other townships and move this to a point where we can really assess whether or not the other townships are understanding what the potential governance structures are.
I offer what I think could be a critical step.
Can we put an agenda item on for next meeting and talk about the structure that we need to put in place to get this accomplished?
Yes, sir.
So right now, we have before us resolution number 2023-24 with a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. Motion carries 3-2. Are there any other items for discussion during this meeting? Hearing none, meeting is adjourned.